Yeah, recently I heard that people talk about Coinbase. They say Coinbase valuation is over $100 billion. Is that true? And what are they based on? What kind of fact they based on to have such conclusion? That's what we are going to talk about. Okay, so let's jump right in. Coinbase is evaluated over $100 billion in the private market. I don't think that's a quite reasonable conclusion for this private market price. Okay, so let's just dive in how they get this number. Uh, it's because of Coinbase actually are preparing for IPO, so they need to get a reference number like how they should sell their price in IPO. That's why they launched their shares sales in the Nasdaq private market. It's basically a secondary market, so people can buy their shares, and the number of shares they launch in the Nasdaq private market is 1.8 million shares, and the most recent price in this market is $372, and according to a number of share times the price of per share, their valuation according to this is over $1 billion. But my argument for that is because of in your private market, you only launch 1.8 million shares, which means you have a limited supply, and probably a lot of demands because Coinbase is such a household name, and especially Bitcoin is getting too hot recently. So this push because you have just a partial supply. This supply 1.8 million is probably not even like 5% of its whole shares, right? And you have like a larger demand. I think many people can buy things in the Nasdaq private market. It's just not like proportionally reflecting the truth of the supply and demand. Because if you want to give your partial supply, you also should limit your demand. But I don't think this well limited. And so that's why the price here, I don't feel you can just apply. You can just times the number of shares it has in total. So that's my view. I don't think $100 billion is a reasonable estimate. $100 billion, that's a lot of money. Let's just check how much Uber worth. Okay. I can just show you how much $100 billion is. So yeah, Uber, exactly as I thought, Uber is worth $108 billion. So which is almost the same as a Coinbase number. And not to mention, Uber is the largest ride-sharing company in the world, and it has so many different markets, and it's just worth $100 million. And Coinbase is a relatively new company, and it mainly do the like digital currencies transaction, that kind of things. It doesn't really have the physical assets. How can these things be so expensive, right? The Coinbase is a digital currency exchange. I personally think it doesn't have like real assets. It doesn't even have the apps that everyone use very frequently. I mean, it has app, and a lot of people may be using that, but compared to the number of users that Uber has, is just not even close, I would say. And maybe some people will argue Uber doesn't have real physical assets, but the way that people use Ubers is just far more intense, far more engaging than Coinbase. And I will just show you some number, okay? Let me just show you some number. Okay, so I will show you some numbers. This is the Coinbase revenues in 2019, which is 2 years ago, He has 130 million revenues. It's actually not bad, but its profit is actually it actually has a $30 million loss in 2019. And last year, in the first 9 months of 2020, it actually improved its revenues from 530 millions to 691 millions, and it has the profit is 141 million dollars profit, which is not bad. But if you got this number and you compare this valuation 100 billion, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The company now you only earns 141 million in 9 months, and is valued at $100 billion. It just doesn't make sense. And even some people will argue this revenue, its profit will improve over time, but it has its limit. It has a ceiling, right? You can just project the kind of growth. No matter what kind of projections I use, I don't think it should worth $100 billion. But of course, the market now is a little bit like overpriced, so every stock is more expensive than it used to be, and the monetary policy is not very loose, so the money doesn't worth that much. So they make the share prices increase a lot, but still $100 billion, it's too much. It's really too much. Okay, so that's my view. And what do you think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. And by the way, if you would like to receive more technology companies analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe. Your subscription is really my best encouragement to make more videos like this. And other than that, take care. Until next time.